Okay, no problem. No sweaterino, because we're going into game number 2 now between BacT and Chris. Let's do a quick chat off there so we don't get distracted by the chat on the left side. And we're going to jump straight in. This is live. Mallorca. I always say Mallorca, but it's not. It's Mallorca. Anyway, we're in again with game number 2 now. We'll see what colors they're playing as. I think we're going to leave team colors on for this one because, I don't know, red and blue is just always easier to see on the mini-map, even on a water map, I think, anyway. Up to the north of the map, currently in the lead this series, we've got Chris, and he's playing as the Vikings. And down to the south of the map, in the red, we've got BacT playing as the Vikings as well. Game 2 is on, well, let me see. It looks like Baltic. It's Baltic, guys. Oh my god. So much hype for Baltic right now. Everybody loves Baltic, I think, right? Or maybe it's just because yeah, it's just gonna be a typical water map at the end of the day. But that we have seen some really nice games on Baltic, to be fair, and I think it's always possible to see something a little bit out of the ordinary. You just never know what's going to happen. So dismissing a game because it's a Viking war on Baltic is not a good enough reason, in my opinion. It's all good in the hood, and you just never know what could happen. You never know what you might see. But anyway, Chris currently in the lead. He's 1-0 at the moment after winning the El Dorado game, and looking fairly strong so far this series. And considering he beat Viper for 2-0 earlier on today, I think he's definitely on good form today. He's feeling limbered up. He's feeling ready to go. He's been training. He's done himself a little Rocky montage before getting into these games, and he is hyped, and he's sorted. So it's all on BacT. Can BacT make this work out? Well, this is Bagiofro's home map, and this was his choice. So game 1 was won by Chris, and then game 2 is the loser's home map. So the Baltic choice here is Bagiofro's, and obviously Bagiofro feeling confident on water. And I'm surprised really that he's gone for a water map like this, because I kind of anticipated that he would want to go for a land map where he could play as the Mayans, maybe Regicide Fortress, for instance. But I think choosing Regicide Fortress against Chris is a little ballsy, actually, considering Chris is a very strong Regicide Fortress player, that's for sure. And in fact, in previous interviews that I've done with him, he's always said that like he likes Regicide Fortress. He feels confident on that map. So I feel like that would be a risky one for BacT to go for. Now, the next game will be Chris's home map, and I simply anticipate that Chris will choose Arabia and go for an Aztec war. Chris is, I think, pretty fond of them as well, and we've seen him do that previously in this tournament. And Chris is, oh dear, look at this from BacT. Not paying attention to his villager there and letting that sheep get killed behind the TC. Not the best. And of course, on a water map, it's really important to be as efficient as possible to get a really nice feudal time. And a small mistake like that from BacT, it's not really going to cost him too much, but if he keeps making mistakes like that, it could be really costly overall. So yeah, I think for game 3, we'll probably see an Aztec war on Arabia. But I hope Chris surprises us. I hope Chris does something a little out of the ordinary as well. But yes, a little bit messy from BacT, which is, it's not always a good sign. Like, those tiny mistakes can kind of get to you as a player. Like, imagine you're the Viper, and you know you're a great player, but you keep seeing yourself make these small mistakes. It might kind of put you off a little bit. It might distract you a little bit. It might make you focus on the negative things, which is not the right mindset to play these kind of games. You got to feel confident. You got to feel inspired. You got to feel like you're in command, like you're in control. And seeing yourself make small mistakes like that, I think, can sometimes throw you off a little bit. So, Windscreen Wipers in the chat says he thinks that Barry, aka BacT, aka Bagiofro, has chosen Baltic because it's very micro-intensive, and BacT is a very micro-orientated player. That's why he normally chooses archer civs rather than infantry and cavalry civs. Yeah, I think you're definitely right about micro, and I say this all the time when we see water wars, but it's really important to watch the micro closely, because generally speaking, it's really neck and neck between players on water maps. It's going to come down to maybe 1 or 2 galley differences in most situations. And in that case, the micro is really important, and being able to micro well will actually get you an advantage and be able to pull you ahead. So if that is the case, then would make sense for BacT to choose a water map. Now, of all the water maps out there, I think Baltic is definitely one of the biggest when it comes to kind of just pure water. Like Team Islands, you've always got the opportunity to do a landing. Same with Islands as well. Same with Archipelago. Whereas Team Islands, it's really unlikely. Sorry, not Team Islands. What I'm talking about. Baltic, it's really unlikely to see like a landing attempt, but it can happen, and that's kind of what I like to look for sometimes. Chris in, really not off to a great start though. If you have a quick look, Chris only just getting out his fourth fishing ship right now. And he's kind of, I don't know, playing a little sloppily, playing a little messy, having to rebuild that dock, for instance. And he is slower up to the fuselage as well by not a lot, but it's enough to maybe give BacT a small early advantage. But Chris will have his 3 docks up by the time he hits feudal, and he knows he's kind of got to compensate a little bit for this slow time by adding that 3rd dock as quickly as possible, not delaying it. You can see BacT's 3rd dock a little slower here. So Chris is going to immediately be forced almost to play quite a defensive position here to protect his fishing ships. And if BacT goes straight out, then BacT might get caught off guard by the fact that Chris will have that 3rd galley out a little bit faster than BacT will. So you see BacT sending 2 galleys out, Chris compensating for his slower feudal time by adding the 3rd dock really super fast, even sending 2 villagers over to build that, which is unusual. And then he'll sit them in a defensive position and hopefully just push BacT away with superior numbers here. This 3rd galley is going to be slightly slower, but it's going to come out in time to keep his fish safe, and that's a really important thing in this situation, keeping those fishing ships safe. Chris getting the first shot as well, and with that 3rd galley there, he's definitely going to be able to push BacT away. Now, BacT is still ahead in galley count, but he's got to send them across the map, so defender's advantage helping Chris there. And Chris now going to want to go back as he sees those extra 2 galleys coming over. Now for BacT, he's got 8 HP on this galley. It's so worth it for him to actually repair this guy up. And he's going to do that once this villager's repaired this dock. Totally worth it to repair that galley, because if he can keep himself ahead in galley count, like I said, it will only come down to maybe 1 or 2 galleys in the early stages of the game, then it will help BacT to do a little bit of better micromanagement. So obviously, Chris here, double BitAxe, and Johnny LY in the chat asked if BacT got double BitAxe. I'm not 100% sure. I don't recall seeing it, but I wasn't paying that much attention at the time. So if someone saw double BitAxe from BacT, let us know. Because if he's not got double BitAxe, that would be a huge error from BacT and be really costly. Chris right now is actually looking pretty solid. He's got plenty of wood income right now. He has, of course, got that 4th dock up. He's doing fletching as well. And although he is behind in galleys, he is doing fletching first. He has got the blacksmith coming up at the back, or doing fletching at the back. And he's taking his sheep under the TC, whereas BacT's still just taking his sheep now. And BacT could go ahead and do fletching, but he doesn't have the blacksmith yet. I don't think he actually has enough wood. And if that is because BacT has missed double BitAxe, that could be huge. BacT building the blacksmith, we just heard it come up. Meanwhile, on the water, he'll quickly get a quick fishing ship snipe. And these guys are looking pretty low as well. But yes, BacT did do double BitAxe, people in the chat confirming. So, that's all good. Because if he didn't, that would be a huge error, and I really doubt he would have made that mistake, to be honest with you. It's just such a staple of any water map that you could play. But BacT here with a great advantage already, 6 galleys ahead. How has he done that? Well, he's traded much better. He's got 4 kills to 0 deaths, and as Windscreen Wipers said, his micro here really helping him out. He's able to hit, run, and avoid as much damage as possible, whilst maximizing how much damage he's actually able to do. A couple of missed micros from him could actually set him back though, and Chris could easily close this gap if he does micro really well. But with 4 galley advantage at the moment for BacT, he's going to be feeling pretty confident here. Both of these guys do now have fletching as well, so there's no tech advantages for either of them. And BacT is looking pretty solid at the moment as well. So it's still looking very solid even. I just quickly check how many villages these guys have on food, because BacT does seem like he may have a little bit more food available at the moment. 230 food versus Chris's 74. So at the moment, BacT does look like he's set to actually get a faster castle time as well. The fact that he's got 4 fishing ships out versus Chris's 3 right now is going to have a fairly small impact, but it is going to be able to, of course, boost his food income just enough to perhaps getting a faster castle time. And like I say, very often, like the castle time, the speed at which you reach the castle age on a map like this is really pivotal. It's a pivotal moment, because if you get castle first, there's a very good chance you'll be able to get one of your opponent's docks. Very good chance you might even be able to get a good number of galley kills as well. Now at the moment, Chris, surprisingly, leveling out in military count. He's actually taken the lead. 21 galleys versus 22 from BacT, so momentarily taking the lead. But he has closed it up a little bit. 5 kills for BacT, 3 for Chris. And I can only assume that BacT may be a little bit of idle time on these docks. If you have a look at them, yeah, they're kind of sitting idle a little bit here, which is not a good sign. He wants to be keeping these docks working non-stop. And I don't know, maybe a shortage of gold causing a few problems. And for now, Chris taking advantage of that by getting the lead on the water, getting the lead in the galley count. But right now, BacT is on the way up to the castle age, so he wants to be pretty careful not to lose too many galleys here, because he wants to be able to upgrade as many galleys as possible once he gets the war galley upgrade. The fewer galleys he has, the less effective that war galley upgrade is going to be overall. And if he's down by quite a lot of galleys, and Chris is able to strong arm his way into the through the fuel age here and actually take down a bunch of BacT's army, then if BacT is down by enough galleys and Chris has enough of a military advantage, the war galley upgrade won't even matter, and Chris can still just fight anyway. But at the moment, there's not that big of a difference in galley numbers. There's about 5 difference, and that's not enough to make it worthwhile for Chris to fight war galleys, I don't think. But he knows he's got an advantage here. He's going to keep pushing. He's going to keep pushing. He's going to capitalize on this as much as possible. And for BacT, this is, in my opinion, pretty bad news. Like I say, he wants to be able to get as many galleys upgraded as possible if he can. So Chris here, really pulling a nice advantage, but still 16 kills and 16 deaths for both. And BacT able to level out with a couple of nice quick kills there, with a nice little bit of micro. So at the moment, BacT much faster to the castle age. War galley coming in, of course. Bodkin arrow probably going to follow fairly soon. Needs just a little bit more resource to do that. And then, of course, he'll be looking to take an advantage. But Chris isn't scared here. He's keeping this pursuit on. He's going to try and kill as many of these galleys as possible. But as soon as that upgrade comes in, Chris is going to want to get out. And the problem here is that BacT is coming in from behind as well. And he might be able to pick off some of these guys as they try and run. This is bad news for Chris. He's really caught out in an awkward position at the corner of the map. And he has to run past even more galleys in order to get out. And that's pretty costly. Setting Chris down in military count now as BacT pulls a small advantage with that war galley upgrade. Bodkin arrow is also on the way now as well, and we're expecting Chris, once he gets castle, to obviously do those same upgrades very, very quickly. But it's amazing, like I say, just how quickly things can turn around when one player simply just gets that tech advantage. War galley and +2 is dangerous, and when you've not got enough galleys out, and BacT going to be doing as much damage as possible here before Chris manages to get that war galley upgrade. And bear in mind as well, war galleys do build faster than galleys also, so the very fact that BacT has been up to the castle age first, or for longer, means that he's able to squeeze out a few more galleys from the docks because, well, he's able to actually capitalize on the faster production speed for longer. So BacT getting a huge advantage, and he's sending Chris back to the Stone Age right here. As all of these galleys get taken out on the water, Chris just can't be bothered to try and run away anymore. And this is a perfect opportunity now for Bagiofro to try and take down one of these docks, to try and remove a dock from Chris's possession and cost him a lot of wood. Now, at the moment, there's, 6 docks out for Chris. He's building a 7th on this left side, maybe even an 8th here as well. And he knows he has to catch up in galley count one way or another. It's either that or lose water entirely. And right now, while he's still got the docks, he still has a chance to pull it back. But a very small chance at that. A very, very small chance indeed. With the extra docks, maybe he can make it work. Obviously, Bagiofro will see these, though. He's going to be able to tell that that there's more docks coming up, and as a result, BacT might add more docks himself. Now, right now, Badgiofra is sitting on 4 docks. He's not actually bothered making any more. Typically, players will make a 5th dock as the Vikings once they go up to the Castle Age. And now Chris is sat on 3, 6, 7, 8 docks. He might be able to really quickly catch up in galley count as BacT tries to take down these docks from Chris, and Chris just garrisons the galleys inside. So maybe an opportunity here for him to come back. He's still 10 galleys behind, and BacT is now adding the 5th dock on the left side. Now, if Chris loses all these docks and loses the water here, it could be pretty bad news, obviously. It's expected, but he might still try a land attempt or something like that before GGing it out. He is really, really defending very hard now. He's still 10 galleys behind, and he's got to be very careful not to lose all of his galleys again, otherwise all that progress is for nothing. He will still make more and more and more, of course. And I think when he decided to pop out those docks there, it was a good idea to do it when he did, because BacT did have a smaller number of galleys over here, but since then he's grouped them all together once again, and Chris is just getting absolutely pummeled here as he sends some more units on the left side, but it's simply not enough. The sheer numbers for BacT here given a huge advantage, and that's going to be pretty costly for Chris. Meadow Dido, do I think that War Galley being created faster makes it OP? Well, first of all, let's just address this. Chris calling GG right there after losing the water war. He realizes at this stage, of course, there's very little he can do to come back on the water. After throwing everything he's got at it, it wasn't enough. And the problem with Baltic is it is so much harder to do a land attack on Baltic than it is on a map such as Islands or Team Islands. Because on Team Islands, the land mass is so large and the water covers so much area that it's very easy to land around the back of your opponent's base. They can't spread their galleys out enough to keep an eye on everything at once. Whereas on Baltic, it's so easy to defend because all it takes is a tiny bit of wall from either side. And if you've got water control already, then the chances of a transport ship coming over is next to none. So BacT really forcing the water fight here. He's obviously very confident in that and getting a swift victory soon after we reach the Castle Age. Now, as for War Galley being OP, not really. I mean, the thing is, on water, War Galley's arguably a lot better than fire ships because you're going to have more war galleys in the fuselage, from the fuselage, because you have more galleys in the fuselage. You can't make fires. The only thing you can make in the fuselage is a galley. So by the time you reach the Castle Age, you've got galleys already, so you always will upgrade them to war galley in most situations, unless you've got like 3 galleys, in which case it's not worth it. At that point, you're already better than fire ships, because fire ships, you can only start building them in the Castle Age. And if you've already got 20 war galleys out, 1 or 2 fire ships coming at you is not going to be enough. Even 20 fire ships might be pretty poor when you consider that war galleys can just be microed out of the way. The fact that they produce faster, though, than standard galleys doesn't make them OP because they're an upgrade to galleys anyway. The problem is on the water is there's just not really any answer to a galley other than galleys, and for that reason it ends up being fairly stale when it comes down to water wars. I kind of wish that fire ships may be a little buffed, but obviously that's just my opinion. But anyway, we'll have a quick look now at the scores. It's 1-1 as BacT gets that win, and